Join Scotty G and the coach Tim Lacombe Wednesday 10 to 2 at RGS Exteriors at 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. DJ PK, and we're joined by Ben Anderson, co-host Jake and Ben, KSL Sports Utah Jazz Insider. Ben, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you actually in New York and not in New Jersey right now, are you? PK wants to know.
I'm in New York. I'm looking at the Empire State Building.
Oh, nice. Have you learned anything new about the draft since you arrived in the Big Apple, or is it all still a mystery despite the conversations and interviews?
Feels like the cement is slowly hardening. It feels like it's getting a little, what I think the expectations have been now for a little bit seem to be solidifying. It seems like A.J. DeBonza is becoming more and more the favorite to go number one overall. And then, I guess the big news yesterday was that Darren Peterson did end up reconnecting with the Jazz in the last week after a week ago Monday. He canceled his workout with the expectation that he was going to be the number one overall pick.
Why be coy as far as where he met with them? What was the purpose?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. And that's been a little bit strange throughout this entire process. Even Washington, it was kind of unclear whether he actually went to Washington and visited their facilities or what had happened there. If you went back to Shams Charania's tweet, he said they met and that the Wizards had seen him in Los Angeles, but they didn't really indicate that he'd been to Washington. Now, yesterday he said he was in D.C. And had been there. So I'm not sure why there's this kind of game that's being played about where he has been or has not been. But I think the Jazz saw him or talked to him at least over like a Zoom call. I do not think he's been to Utah.
I was curious all along if he was only doing an interview with them because somehow the hand had been tipped and he thought he was going number one, or if that was kind of trying to put out there, well, obviously I'm the number one pick and I'm not going to interview with anybody else, and seeing if he could kind of guide the process. But now that he's met with the Jazz and he's confirmed it himself, I guess I go back to your point about the cement hardening. I was starting to think that he was going to go one and AJ was going to go two. Now I'm flipping that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I kind of thought maybe that would be the case, and certainly the reports that I had last week was the belief with a couple of different camps that Darren was going to be the number one overall pick, but it does not seem like anyone's all that secure in that thought. And I think Peterson's camp probably visited the Wizards and thought they had such a good workout that it could be no choice but him. And then they realized over the last week, oh, well, AJ also had a good visit. And again, none of these guys are working out or doing anything. They're just sitting and talking and, going to dinner or going to breakfast. And I'm sure that seems like it goes well for everybody. So I'm guessing it was more posturing than it was, real intel from Peterson's side.
That's what makes this draft so intriguing, and the fact that the Jazz had the number 2 pick. If it was the number 7 pick, it wouldn't be as enthralling for us. But the fact that they do have the number 1 pick, or number 2 pick, I should say, and we don't know this close who's going to be the number 1 pick in what order. Just the intrigue and the buzz when you were in that room. I covered one draft, and all of my great luck is when they used to move it around, and I got stuck going to Charlotte, North Carolina. Nothing against Charlotte, North Carolina, but as a guy...
But you're from Jersey and you want to go to New York. Let's just say it.
My mother worked at the City College of New York every day, and I used to have an uncle who would take me into off-track betting, so I have a deep history with the city. But no, I was in Charlotte. Plus, that draft, we knew Duncan was going to go 1, and we knew Van Horn was going to go number 2. So I'm wondering, as you're in that room yesterday, because I did the same thing where they have the breakouts and all that, how much, and you have nothing to compare it to compared to what mine, I understand that, but I'm just wondering if there was a buzz in there, because this is so rare that it's such a mystery with the draft just hours away.
Yeah, I was at the Andrew Wiggins draft, and that was obvious he was going to go number 1 and Jabari was going to go 2. And then there were some questions about what was going to happen 3, 4, 5. And obviously Dante Exum ends up slipping to the Jazz at 5 when they thought they were going to get Aaron Gordon. So this feels a little there's less buzz, I think, inside the building because it was like a big deal when Andrew Wiggins walked in the last time because Wiggins was going to be the guy and he had this very loud suit on. And I think everyone was kind of excited to see those players. I do think this mystery is a shroud that's kind of hanging over everybody. And look, Darren Peterson said yesterday, talking to him, said everyone's got a good poker face. He says he doesn't know what's going on. A.J. DeBonza keeps talking about either the Jazz or the Wizards. He clearly doesn't know if he's going to be the number 1 or the number 2 overall pick. Boozer, I don't want to say he was aloof, but he certainly wasn't alluding to being the number 1 overall pick either. So I do think those questions have put a bit of a shroud over this draft. And I think it makes it more fun for the fans. And the fact that all three of these guys are so different. You've got a very true kind of throwback power forward. You've got kind of the prototypical wing, though there's obviously shooting questions with AJ DiBonsa. And then you have a potential superstar guard in a league there where 2 guards aren't really in vogue all that much anymore. So it's really strange on that front that there's 3 guys who do things completely differently. And you've got to project the future of what the NBA is going to look like.
The early talk about the Wizards maybe trading out of number 1, trading with the Jazz, the price tag was so high. As soon as you hear Ace Bailey, I'm like, oh, come on. But now we're down to the last few hours. What about the thought that the Wizards maybe have played a great poker hand? Nobody really knows what's going on. They haven't shown their cards. So could they come back to the Jazz and say, give us some future picks, whether they're yours or somebody else's, whether they're in a year, 2, 3, whatever, and 1 or 2 of your younger players, not named Ace Bailey, maybe not even named Keontae. Maybe it's Collier, Filipowski, somebody. Do you think the Jazz go for a deal like that to move up to number 1, where the price tag is significant, it's meaningful? The Wizards can get an extra pick or 2, an extra young player, whatever it is they value, but it's not backing up the truck.
No, I don't think anyone backs up the truck to move up 1 spot, regardless of where you are in the draft. Even, especially this late in the process now. If there was a clear-cut, obvious number 1 guy, maybe. But 1 to 2, with how close these guys are, yeah, maybe you could get an extra first-round draft pick out of this, but I don't think there would be a lot of young players. Or you would get just a young player, but no, it wouldn't be Ace Bailey or Keontae George, certainly. It would be a much smaller role player, I think, that maybe has some upside that could fill a need. But I think if you're Washington in that sense, you have to think the top 2 guys are very close, and your goal is, well, if I get another asset, then I, intrinsically just have more value coming out of the draft than anybody else does, because we don't know who's going to be the best player 2 or 3 years from now. But I just don't get that impression. I don't really see a world where they move down. Of course, anything could change. And while you said the Wizards played, have had a good poker face throughout this. So have the Jazz. We don't know what the Jazz actually want to do. We don't know who's number 1 on their board. I think the assumption would be AJ DiBonsa, but I think there's a real world where it's Darren Peterson. And then I won't be surprised if tonight at 2 the Jazz take Cam Boozer, and that's just what a mystery this draft has become. But by doing that, they have made it hard for anyone around them to leverage the pick or leverage extra value out of it.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Out here, if you're doing nothing, you're doing everything right. Though on a cruise with Norwegian, even if you're doing nothing, you're still basking in the warm sun, enjoying the peaceful ocean waves. You're breathing. Don't forget about breathing. Definitely need to be breathing. So you get to do nothing, or everything, but you still need to be breathing. It's really important.
Experience the difference with cruises to Alaska, the Caribbean, and Europe. Norwegian Cruise Line. It's different out here. Visit ncl.com, call your travel advisor, or 1-888-NCL-CRUISE. Norwegian Cruise Line ships registry the Bahamas and USA.
What do you think that the point of them, the Jazz, meeting with Peterson, wherever it was, whenever it was, in this past week, that they were looking for a particular type of information?
I think it's always good to check back in when you're not at the combine. Maybe you get a little bit more time with them. You might be in the same room, you might not be in the same room, just to see how they've responded to the process and see how they're feeling. Whatever you missed in your draft combine interview, if you can go back and revisit it, or maybe you left with some questions. I do think there's always still value there. But yeah, just an interview process, if it's not going to be, an actual in-person dinner or breakfast the next day, I'm sure it's not as beneficial. But I would imagine anything is better than nothing at this point. And then gauge how comfortable they are if they do end up in Utah now. The lottery was the 13th, 11th, somewhere around May.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about, 6 weeks later. How have they changed? How have they adapted? Has their tune changed a little bit as they've gotten more intel? I think that's always a part of the value.
I asked you about the Jazz maybe trading up to 1. What do you think about any chance there could be a trade down to 3? I mean, for the people who think they like Boozer and they played their cards well, could they get the Grizzlies to trade up?
Yeah, could the Grizzlies give up a first-round pick? Sure. I mean, if the Jazz feel like, the Grizzlies think they have to have Cam Boozer, it seems like Cam Boozer is the favorite in Memphis. And if the Jazz have put on a good enough poker face that they feel like, oh, maybe Cam goes too, and we simply can't exit this draft without getting our guy, would they throw in an extra draft pick? I think those conversations have to be had, and there has to be, I'm sure the Wizards have, or I should say the Grizzlies have gauged the interest of, what the Jazz is of trading down and the way even what the Wizards would be of trading down. I think you probably have to do that due diligence. I mean, you guys had Austin Ainge on, and he scoffed at the idea that you do that right after the lottery. Yeah. But it's been 6 weeks. You have a lot of time to talk and see what's going on and see what's out there. You might as well see what the value of your pick or the other team's picks are.
Here's what I want. Whoever they take when they announce the first one and then the Utah Jazz are on the clock, 30 seconds later, they have the pick. That sends the message, we got our guy. This is who we wanted all along. From a PR stance, that would be just brilliant. So I would advise you to tell them that on behalf of me.
You want me to go track down Derek and let him know how to handle this process?
Yeah, get right on it, man. Doesn't that send a powerful message? Oh, this is who we wanted all the way. Yeah.
I think the Jazz will be excited with whatever happens. I do think there's going to be, some sense of running to the podium to make the selection. These three players specifically are so different than anyone they've drafted, really, and honestly, in my lifetime. The talent levels is significantly higher than the rest of the players they've brought into Utah. Now we'll see how they develop, but the starting point is so high.
And in your lifetime, Ben, and I believe this month, you have a double changer on your age numbers.
I did. I moved to the big 4-0.
He says with as little enthusiasm as possible.
Well, Ben is not a hyperbolic guy.
He is not. But he's got a dry sense of humor. It's the wind blowing in off the desert.
Yeah.
I think that to your point about they're going to be happy whoever they get at number 2, and I think didn't we have that confirmed when we saw the video of the actual draft lottery happen and we saw Austin Ainge's celebration and fist pump? They'd already evaluated the guys, and yes, there's details to learn and T's to cross, I's to dot and all that stuff. But that fist pump says, I've watched a lot of basketball, and there's 3 really good players at the top of the draft, and we're picking second.
Yeah, there was another video the Jazz released, actually kind of sitting in the audience when the lottery was announced, not the actual draft situation with the lottery balls, but kind of when they announced it on TV. And it was Danny Ainge, it was Justin Zanuck, and I think Avery Bradley, and they all fist bumped when they found out they had the number 2 pick, and they were excited. Yeah, you know, this 4 years has been pretty brutal if you're a Jazz fan. It has been about trying to get a premier talent, and you know, maybe you end up getting that with Keontae George, or maybe Ace Bailey ends up developing into that. But having a player like, you know, Darren Peterson or AJ Bonsa or Cam Boozer fall into your lap at the very end of this process, I think probably justifies a lot of it for them, at least something to sell, at least something that they can be excited about. Now they've got to grow this player into a true superstar in the next phase of the franchise. But at least you've got a chance to do it. You're not just, you know, picking in the dark. This is there's a real chance that this player does end up becoming the best player on the roster in a few years.
Did you see the Carlos Boozer quote?
Which one?
Where he basically said, if you don't draft Cameron, you will regret it.
Yeah, he says his son's the best winner in this group. And, you know, it's pretty hard to argue with what his resume has shown, that Cam has won throughout high school. It was at 4 state championships in the state of Florida, and becomes the player of the year at Duke. And, you know, not just the ACC player of the year, but the National College player of the year. And his numbers were unmatched. He is unique in that front. He's got one of the best resumes we've ever seen from a player coming out of high school or coming out of college, whether that's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or LeBron James or now Cam Boozer. I mean, he is in truly elite company when it comes to his history to this point.
So I'm wondering, do you think that maybe that's a little subliminal message or maybe even direct message to the Jazz?
I think there's probably some fathering going on in there, but yeah. I'm sure Carlos is campaigning for Cam. I mean, I think that would make sense. And obviously it's not the cleanest fit with the Jazz, though fit can't matter that much at this point. But no, I mean, there's a real, I mean, that I'm sure there are people within the Jazz's front office. I can't confirm this, but I'm sure there are people who have Cam Boozer number 1 on their board. I don't think, if you believe the numbers you look at, and as I've been told, I mean, he's a mile ahead of everybody analytically and everything they look at, that you can at the very least consider him.
Right.
Fit doesn't worry me at all. They just need to pick the best player. And given how many games guys are sitting out, and given how many different positions guys can play these days, I just have zero worry about fit. Even with Jackson and Markkanen, there'll be time for him. There'll be combinations to play. I don't see why that should even be part of the discussion. Just pick the best player. Pick the best player, and it'll be if that's Boozer, the playing time will work out fine.
And in all honesty, I think there's an argument that you actually look at the Jazz's timeline, and Boozer might be the best fit because at some point you're going to have to pick between Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr., and then Cam Boozer slides right in. I don't think you're trying to do that with Ace Bailey. And if you take A.J. DiBonsa, then you have that question. And if you take Darren Peterson, you have the question with either Ace Bailey or Keontae George. So, I'm not sure that there really is a perfectly clean fit for anybody on this roster 3 years from now. Each one of these guys, assuming they develops, is going to probably push somebody out of Utah.
Right. So I think fit needs to be considered. I'm not saying it needs to be considered number one, but I think it needs to be considered because if you got somebody ahead of you, or is it potentially that Darren Peterson stifles Ace Bailey's growth? I mean, you can make a case for that. So I don't think it's not the most important thing. But and I like to push against conventional thinking anyway. We all know that I think it's something that you should be aware of at minimal.
And you should be aware of, what the trade market is for Lauri Markkanen if he ends up out there and how that could complete your roster. Ideally, this is a team that's trying to compete for a championship or in 2 or 3 years. So, what's going to be that last piece that pushes you over the edge? Who's going to be, your Karl Anthony Towns that comes into the Knicks that kind of gets you where you're trying to go? And then what's your best way of actually getting that next player? Is it by trading an Ace Bailey? Is it by trading a Keontae George? Is it by trading a Lauri Markkanen? And those are questions for probably 24, 36 months from now, but that certainly probably has to be a part of the equation. These front offices think so far down the line when they're building out their teams. I know it's not really what fans want to think of. They want to think of this entire group being together, but the next time the Jazz are really, really good, at least one of these faces is likely going to be gone.
And there's no way to guess which one right now, is there?
No, I don't think so.
Because you don't know who the Jazz are drafting. Yeah.
Hey, 3 years from now, what's our confidence level that we know who the best player on the Jazz is going to be? I think there's a case it's Keontae. I think there's a case it's Ace Bailey. There's a case it's whoever they draft today. And there's a case it's still Jaren Jackson Jr., who was probably the best player today and is only 26 years old and should only be getting better for the next few seasons.
Yeah, which I think is actually a good problem to have if that's the case. I think that's exciting for the future that you are set up to win if you play your cards right and all that stuff. With that in mind, have you had some New York pizza yet?
I haven't had any pizza yet. We had a hot dog at the Yankees game on Sunday. That was fun. But we'll probably have to stop and grab some pizza before the trip is over.
Yeah. If not, don't come back.
You got a spot, PK?
Any of them. Yeah, there's a million of them. I have one particular one across the bridge, but I don't think you have wheels to get over there.
No.
New York thin crust or Chicago deep dish?
Oh, there's no question.
I've only had Chicago deep dish one time. That was at the All-Star game in 2020, but it was inside the Bulls arena, and that's not really a good way to judge it. Okay. So I'll go with New York for now.
All right, there it is. And reserve the right to change your mind.
I always can.
All right, Ben, we will hear you 2:00 today. Your show with Jake. And then the draft tonight, tracking things down. Where do they put you for the draft? What's the setup? Do you know? Do you know how this is going to
work? In the past, you've just kind of been in the stands. They have like a media setup, so I'm sure that'll be the same area. But this will be different. I'm not going to go park anywhere because I'm going to try and be down on the floor when AJ or Darren or Cam Boozer gets selected, and then I'm going to follow him into the media room, and then it's right to work. So there's not going to be a lot of sitting and watching tonight.
Yeah, you're not going to. I can remember because Keith went second, and I didn't get back out until the main room when they were on 26 or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I started looking at the names because it's cool that your guy or your team, in this case, I was a guy, not a team. You're a team, not a guy. And then once that team or guy is selected, then you just focus on that, and the night seems to just blow by.
Yeah, and then you sit and wait till they make them available to you. So that'll be my evening.
All right. Well, Ben, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for joining us, and go get that pizza.
My pleasure.
All right. Ben Anderson, 2 o'clock today with Jake right here on The Zone. NHL draft's coming up Thursday and Friday. We're going to talk with Stephen Ellis, NHL draft and prospects analyst for the Daily Faceoff at 9 o'clock. It's a double draft kind of week right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, stay with us.